Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Mario Nawfal Crypto Daily. We have got an incredible panel lined up today, diving in with Solnic. We're actually going to be having the opportunity to have a peek under the hood of what they've got going on with an AMA towards the end of the show. But we've got an incredible conversation that's going to lead all the way up to that because there's so much going on in this space. We were talking about this before this stream started, and that it's almost impossible to follow the news cycle right now with what's going on, whether it just be news, whether it be the developments within the blockchain and crypto ecosystem, and almost the unburdened excitement just bubbling inside of all of our veins because of what's happening with this administration in terms of forward-looking possibilities with the crypto ecosystem. So welcome again to the show, Mario Nawfal's Crypto Daily. My name's Kelly Kellum. I'm going to throw it over to my guy, Pulse. How you doing, good sir?
Doing good. Like you mentioned earlier before the show, it's been a crazy week, and depending on how you take in your news, it can be overwhelming. But I'm glad to be here on Friday afternoon, ready to wrap it up with you and Solnic, and ready to go around the room. I've got one or two subjects written down, but I'm ready to see where we kick it off, man.
Absolutely. Now, Roger, I feel like every time we tune in with you, you're either at a conference, you're live streaming from a porta potty at this event over here. You're at the craps table in Vegas at the Avalanche thing. Where are you today?
It is correct what you said besides the porta potty. I don't remember that one. But with that said, I am home today. I am watching the markets, working with the markets, and continuing to grow, seeing where everything is. I know everyone's getting ready for Dubai. I am actually skipping out this year, went last year. But I hear a lot of people are headed to Dubai right now. So I think that's where everyone's going. Token 2049 Dubai. I think we'll see a lot of announcements, a lot of news coming from that side of the month, coming at the end of the month. So be interesting to see how Token Dubai goes and what's going to happen from that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to Bitcoin Las Vegas. I wonder if any of you guys are going, but let's dive into some of these things, and we're going to throw it over to Yaboyski, and also we've got Solnic here, Solnic coin. There's so much going on in this space. As a developer, I'll throw it to you first, Yaboyski. There's so much going on in trying to even fathomably forecast what might happen this cycle with the clearer runway, at least, that we have in the space. But we're also still seeing some almost tribulation and struggles with the price action, these almost 2 full round trips we've seen in the altcoin market space. As developers, as the project leads, what's the sentiment? Is all the speculative drama of the price go up, price go down? Is it just blinders on? Let's build, let's develop it. What is it like in the developer community while there's so much excitement, but still frustration in the sentiment of the market?
Well, I think, there's lots of turbulence, especially a lot with the tariffs, and no one really knows what's going to come of that. But, at the end of the day, and something that I always preach against on my channel, to be wary of certain projects who, anyone can be awesome when it's awesome, but what is a project doing when their feet is to the fire? What is a project doing when it's not awesome and when the competition is a little bit steeper? And, my outlook is not what are we going to do the next 2-minute candle or the next 2 hours or the next 2 weeks. We're trying to build something awesome for regular people to use tools rather than price go up equal good, price go down equal bad.
I mean, I was speaking about this on a Spaces the other day. It's there's almost these 2 different halves of the industry. There's a developer or fundamental minded people, right? That sort of, hey, there's such a long runway of what's going to develop and grow in this space. And there's the other side where it's like, and I actually quoted Pulse from a backroom chat we had earlier. The other people, it's like, hey, what use case do you want? And in reality, what was the thing that you said, Pulse? What's the use case most people want?
They want price go up technology.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true. It's like there's people getting frustrated by looking at a 15-minute chart with a trend over 3 hours moving down. And it's like, I'm looking at Bitcoin while people are worried about the market cycle. And I'm like, this is doing not only exactly what you would expect in a bullish trend, but also testing key levels. And in the face of holding up stronger than we're seeing things like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ hold up, while we also, again, have all these developers building all these tools with AI as well now getting integrated.
Hey,
And
Kelly,
the global awareness campaign is just through the roof.
can I
Yeah.
talk about my friend Bitcoin for a second? Because
Get into it, baby.
one of the notes that I had written down here, I want to take a little victory lap for this. I know you do this, but everyone should be tracking Bitcoin dominance. Did you see the other day that it finally crossed 63%? For weeks, I'd watched it in the 62s and change. 63% represented an all-time high for Bitcoin dominance that had not been touched since January of 2021. That actually predates my time in crypto. So I have never seen Bitcoin dominance like this before. I can actually say that statistically and be right. And that says so much to me, because I know sort of some of the agenda today is like the 2008 financial crisis and be your own bank and stuff like that. And what represents where we currently are better than a dominance that we have not seen in over 4 years?
Yeah. I'm on my channel, I'm known as a Wyckoff. That's sort of my bread and butter. And to me, right now, Bitcoin is textbook Wyckoff accumulation. It's already done distribution back in November and January, and we're already deep into Wyckoff. And you could say when the tariffs went into effect, that was the spring, which, if you know, basically Wyckoff accumulation just means a bottoming structure. And everyone sort of has this notion that, you know, tariffs are going to be bad, and no one is looking on the other side of the coin of like, what if, you know, there's 70 plus countries that have come to negotiations? What if that actually comes to something positive? Because when I'm seeing in the charts, Bitcoin dominance being at a multi-year high, working on distribution, Bitcoin working on accumulation. That's right. So I think we've already gotten the spring, and we're working on the SOS would be the next bigger move. And I think that the altcoins are maybe just a beat behind there, but still working on the bottoming structure. But what if it actually comes to something good? And, you know, with the way that news moves, it's like news overload all the time. It could be a flip of a switch, a tweet, a partnership, a trading agreement that would just flip it overnight. And everyone that was not developing, I think, you know, it's a missed opportunity.
Kelly, you're on mute, bud.
On mute.
Found it. My mouse was locked up there. But one of the things I think it's so interesting about the Wyckoff accumulation or distribution patterns is this is not something that is new with Bitcoin. It's not like, hey, check out this pattern or AI identified. No, this is a pattern that was established, recognized, and printed in books. I think it might have been as early as the late 1880s, but it was early 1900s at minimum. Because all it is, you know, and I talk about this price structure when you're looking at price, it is a little bit of brostrology, yes, because you can never exactly know what's going to happen, but it's essentially a map of human psychology over time. The waning and gaining of bullish and bearish sentiment and the battle between those, kind of like when you drop a tennis ball, you can predict with a pretty accurate representation of about how high it's going to bounce based on how far you dropped it or threw it with force. Similar with this price action, but I'm excited about this, man. But I see Solnic. I saw you were shaking your head, and I think you have. I mean, in good ways and bad ways.
Well, I was just with Wyckoff. You know, it applies so well to these high volume mass charts. And me and Devin had a conversation last week, and we're like, we think that's why some of these degens are in the space, is because with these low market cap coins, they have all the control. You know, 5% of the bag can dump the price by 50%, and like it's still the same psychology, but then it's not distributed among the masses. It's just one person's, you know, perspective on it and when he wants to dump, and having that control, I think, went to a lot of people's heads with a lot of these meme coins that are out right now.
I think somebody, were you going to say something, Yaboski?
Oh, I was just going to say to your point, Richard D. Wyckoff, he created 100 years ago. He's the GOAT. So it applies today. And you could even align that perfect, you know, the psychology of investing chart that everyone knows and love. All that really is just Wyckoff. It's distribution, markdown, accumulation. It's just the most fundamental technical way of viewing the market, in my opinion.
Yeah, and on that note, I'd love to throw in there, because I know Pulse brought up, you know, I don't want to say it wasn't the entire advent of the crypto ecosystem, but it definitely catalyzed some things. The 2008 housing crisis didn't happen in 2008. The 2008 housing crisis took a decade or more of things sort of transgressing bad activities and repackaging of junk stuff into this other. Say, hey, here, check out this piece of gold. Oh, it's actually just a polished turd, and the market, completely crumbles from that. And through that, we've seen, a lineage of different developments that led up to when Bitcoin was released. But I do think the time, place, technology, and social awareness, especially also because of social media, really it was the right time, right place, right catalyst. What do you make of? I'd love to throw that back over to you, Boyski. What do you make of that? Because I'm seeing a lot of scary, similar things with what's going on in our economy right now, with the over leveraged debt that's like 7x more of what we saw in commercial real estate than we saw preceding the 2008 crisis. Do you think it's more important, or it's kind of questionable at this point, considering being our own bank and the availability of DeFi and RWAs? How does this all fit into the picture in your mind?
It's the same story of, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, that has been playing for, thousands of years. And the entire reason that Bitcoin was created in the first place was because of the 2008 crisis. And like you mentioned, that didn't happen in 2008. And our favorite bear of all time, Michael Burry, famously shorted the absolute top, except he actually started in 2005 because he found a fundamental problem in 2004. And was absolutely wrecked for the next 2.5 years before he was actually correct. But yeah, it's just, we view the suits, so to speak, as like, oh, I have a guy, and he manages my 401k, and it's just safe off with this guy. But in reality, they're degenerate gamblers too. They just wear suits and a tie, and that's the real big difference.
Right on. I do want to welcome in. We got Mr. Oates here, Michael Oates. I was a little sad that we weren't going to be able to see your beautiful face. We're just kind of talking about this beautiful trajectory. It seems so scary. It really does suck what happened in 2008, but I'm endeavoredly thankful for that happening, because it's really kind of ushered in the global awareness, really, and the need and the urgency of what's happened with Bitcoin. And now with the cryptographic technology that's developed with blockchain, also all these other different avenues and different slight variations and very unique use cases. And I think it's going to continue there. I'd love to throw it to you, Michael, welcome you to the show, and ask you what's your thoughts on that. I just asked you, Boyski. I'm seeing a couple signs and signals that we may be seeing something that could happen like that again. What does that mean now that we have blockchain and alternatives to the global financial system?
It's likely that it could reoccur again. I mean, it's dependent on a number of factors, actually, this cycle. It's going on like globally with like trade. I mean, what's happening with the tariffs right now is very interesting in the space. But, we could see a reoccurrence of it. I think a lot of people actually like the idea of actually being in control of their own bank, essentially, and being able to decide where their money is. But it's going to be dependent on how things are regulated or not regulated, for that sense, over the next weeks, months, or years. But interesting times ahead, definitely.
I was just going to say that we are, Solnic is creating a documentary, a feature-length documentary called BYOB, Be Your Own Bank. And basically it's just going to be one giant ad for the, some of the things that we're trying to create. But really what it explores is the 2008 financial crisis. And everyone kind of knows, the banks, and they were over leveraged. And some people know that this is where Bitcoin was born forged from the fire, the sort of Phoenix rising ashes type thing. But the forgotten about story is these small Midwestern towns that, were steel or, whatever. They had car, for me, it was DHL. And so I go over my hometown, and it's like, it's still wrecked to this absolutely day. Just this small Midwestern town. And you just see the destruction, and you had the, not only was the financial crisis going on, but you had the opioid crisis going on at the same time. And you just see the ruins and the wreckage. And it's like, This is where big banks left us. This is where big pharma left us. And the wreckage is still here. And this is why it's so important to me personally to be your own bank. I do think something is brewing, but as far as like big, blow off top type stuff, as far as with the bigger macro, but I think it takes longer than what we think. And I'm a big proponent of the 7-year cycle, actually, rather than the 4-year cycle. 87 was Black Monday. 94, the bond market crash. 2001, you had the dot-com bubble, and 9/11. 2008, you had the great financial crisis. These are all the 7th year. 2015, the Chinese stock market crash. 2022, you had the war in Ukraine, FTX, Luna. Those all went to zero. And the next one is 2029. So to me, that's when the chicken comes home to crow, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's again, it goes back to that never-ending news cycle. But you know what I wonder? I'd love to throw this back over to Roger. I was ruminating on this with a friend the other day. Is it every generation feels like it's getting crazier, right? And we feel like even right now, especially with the new administration and how many things are changing so quickly and how much is getting done, but also what's going on the social media stage and what's going on with news. Is it really that it's like the never-ending cycle, or are we just more overwhelmingly plugged in with it? Just like it's almost like we have the feed directly into our eyeballs. We're like, there's so much happening, whereas before we're just walking in a park, and if we saw a news headline, we saw it. If not, then it's like we were just going about our merry way.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, right? Because we're in a very different time where information is everywhere, but the issue is not every information is accurate, right? And then we're also in a world where the new generation is their attention span is a lot less. They're used to 60 to 30-second TikTok videos, and that's the type of information and education that they need. So moving forward, if you're a business and you're targeting this type of generation, you're going to have to target your marketing around 30, 60-second videos. Anything longer than that, you lost their attention. It's the same thing with clicks and why, crypto and other things have issues, because there's so many clicks to get to where you need to go. And after 2 clicks, you lose the client, the customer, right? So, you have to be very mindful of that. So, yeah, you talk about information, and the issue with how good it is to have access to it is that we can't also tell what's accurate. So that's why you have the left and right, you have the people in the middle. And you're always going to have that because there's never going to be a common ground of this is the correct information unless it's actually something factual that maybe it gets put in from, one of the main news stations and it's a real fact. But other than that, hearsay information, people are just going to go off of because we're in a generation where everyone thinks they know what they believe they see is the truth.
I also think we're stuck in our own algorithm. My feed is completely different than somebody else's feed, but chances are, if you're in the same, industry, our feeds are going to be similar. Same thing with the red and the blue or any other thing. The news you're looking for is the news they're going to feed you. And so it's harder to get exposure to a more rounded perspective because of the way the algorithms work with our social media.
Can you imagine?
Too. Also remember, everything's listening. Our phones listen to us, Amazon, everything. So you'll be talking about something and that ad will pop up. So we're also in a world, like you said, that, what we say matters because that's the information we're being given as well. So that's why it's hard to say, what's accurate because there's never a way to tell because they're going off information that they're given. And a lot of people just believe that without doing actual research, even though it's very easy to research these days.
Hey, Roger, I was at an Apple festival, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I got this ring, which is basically a 1921 silver dollar. Okay. Not online, not purchased, anything like that. The next morning, I go on Instagram, and there's an ad for this 1921 silver dollar bracelet that's made from old silver. And it's just like, there's no way coincidentally that would pop up unless there was something about my conversation that was said. So I do agree with you. I'd love to throw it back to Solnic on this. So what can you imagine? Maybe this is already something out there that I'm not aware of. Can you imagine if there was going to be like borrow a bubble kind of thing where it's like if you're online, whether you can see, I want to see, okay, my sister and I are at odds. Okay, let me borrow her algorithmic bubble for 4 hours. I want to see just what is going on.
Yes. And my mom's in town actually now for Easter weekend. and we have completely different views, and we can pull up and cite completely different sources conflicting with things. And it's just, it would be great to okay, what brought you to your conclusion, and what was funneled into you to give you your perspective on that, because it's completely different than mine. And not saying it's wrong or right, either one of us, but just because of what we're fed is kind of what we grow on.
That's a good point. I've been thinking about, we were talking about the housing crisis, and you're talking about borrowing. I don't know everyone's age here because I don't like to assume, but I know I'm the only one that doesn't have my picture visible. I was thinking back to, you guys were saying it didn't start in 2008, right, Kelly? Kelly's gone. I assume Kelly is much younger than me. You said it didn't start in 2008. For me, I'm stuck on the idea. Do you guys know what a McMansion is?
Yeah.
I say the word McMansion, you guys can picture that, right? When did they start building those all across the United States? When did that become a trend? Because that's like a cultural shift, and that really is what kicked off the housing crisis, is like the cultural shift to having bigger houses or feeling like we needed to look like we were flossing more money than we really had. And McMansions were symptomatic of that. And after the housing crisis, you were left with all these half-completed houses, particularly across like Texas and stuff like that. And then they were hard to sell. So I think back when you said before 2008, Kelly, my mind went to the construction boom in like the mid 90s and whatever that was off the back of. Do you remember all of that? I don't know where you guys all live and stuff, but it might have looked different for you. But I remember seeing houses going up like crazy around that time.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas, and it's very similar. I'm 41, and sometimes I feel like I'm 15. Other times I feel like I'm 87. It's just kind of weird, the different lives we straddle based on, where you're navigating. But I do remember that the McMansion thing. Once you realize it's a trend, it means it's already been around a few years, right? It's hit a bit of a fever pitch. So, I mean, the same thing happened in my mom's neighborhood. They built everything almost. She's like one of the last like 9 houses in the neighborhood that wasn't, property purchased, torn down the house, rebuilt with a McMansion. And so that must have been like the early 2000s, but prior to, I don't even know. I don't know. Have you guys tracked that trend?
Well, that's all the stuff that would have kicked off the entire housing crisis. And that when you guys are talking about what Michael Burry was into and what Nakamoto would have been inspired by, Yaboyski's kind of alluding to all of that the discontent from all of that was the problem back then. And I got hung up on that. For me, the too big to fail is what tripped me into crypto. That phrase alone like raises my blood pressure just to think about what that was like. And that kind of led to Occupy Wall Street. You guys remember the series of events? Yaboyski, I think you kind of remember because you're been inspired by some of that. But too big to fail tripped me out. What about you?
So in the documentary, that's something that we're talking about that is kind of enraging. So not only were they too big to fail, and they created this degenerate, by just giving everyone a loan. If you work at McDonald's, no worries, $300,000 home loan. It's not a problem. You can refinance it 17 times. My grandmother, who was like 90 years old, had her house paid off by the time my great grandfather passed away. And by the time she died, it was refinanced 17 different times because they were predatorily preying on them. So not only were they doing these, just terrible things, but then too big to fail, it brings it all full circle. And it's the taxpayers who bailed these companies out. So it's a double whammy. Not only did you get preyed upon, but now your dollar gets devalued because now you have to bail them out so that they are, in fact, too big to fail.
Well, it kind of goes to some of the things going on in our economy right now with decisions on a government level. On the one hand, you want everybody to have access to everything. On the other hand, sometimes that access without the right boundaries does set up for a massive cataclysm of events. Just because everybody should have a house doesn't mean you give everybody a loan when they have no profit to debt ratio that aligns with that. So there's always that battle of doing the best good with having the right limitations, but not for the wrong reasons. And I think that's a never ending battle, I think, with any world government. What's your thought? You're going to follow up there?
Yeah, I just think, with the housing sort of crisis, I definitely have strong feelings about this, that housing is unaffordable. And that's the narrative, like millennials, no one can buy a house. But I think we're being lied to as the reason. The reason is not because, if you read the Bitcoin Standard and they talk about the Roman Empire of coin clipping and all this. So I did a video about this a while back. If you measure housing, the average house, not in dollars, which in my opinion itself is in a bubble. If you measure it not in dollars, but you measure it in gold, that gives you the real story. And the reason you measure it in gold is because 2,000 years ago, 1 ounce of gold equaled a fine man's suit. Today, 1 ounce of gold equals a fine man's suit. So it doesn't really change in value. It's just value. It's just permanent value. So if you measure decade by decade that real estate costs measured in gold rather than dollars, it tells you the real story. And the real story is today actually is the most affordable decade to buy real estate that we've ever had since 1980. 1990 was actually the most unaffordable because interest rates were, up the wazoo. So it was the average gold house was 93 ounces of gold in 1980. Today it's 130. In the 90s, it was 300, in the 2000s, etc. So if you measure it in the real thing, it tells you the real story. And it just reminds me of the coin clipping all over again.
It's a really good point. I'm worried about, you talked about millennials and younger talking about not being able to afford housing. You build up a lot of apathy with that too. And I think that all leads towards not just Bitcoin, but just DeFi. People are learning about inflation at a crazy rate. People are learning that their money is devalued. People are finding out that their retirement funds aren't there. It's got the same vibe to me as kind of what Occupy Wall Street, Too Big to Fail did. People are just wanting accountability, and not to glaze it all, but what Doge has been doing, bringing accountability and transparency to government spending. Again, it's just people are sick of the waste, and they're saying my tax dollars are going all of these different places. You guys are printing to infinity, and then I see dominance at 63%. Man, I don't have to be Wyckoff to write the paper here, but you guys are saying he's been around for 100 years. I'm looking for the next Kelly, the Kellum indicator is what I need. Is I need to know when it's going to make the next jump for us, because I see it all lined up like a crazy man. But I hope you guys are all as right as I think you are, because I think you're right too.
Yeah, that's a great point. And similarly, we have the additional metric beyond gold now, which is that metric showing housing prices getting. I was talking with somebody about this yesterday. Housing, if you own a house, it goes up in value. Is it really going up in value, or is your dollar getting devalued? And then you look at Bitcoin, okay, 664 Bitcoin to buy a house in 2016, and then only 6 Bitcoin. I probably went, this has jumped around a little bit, but under 10 Bitcoin, 2024 into 2025, that life is getting cheaper. And it's not just going to be Bitcoin. I think this is the important notion. Bitcoin is an incredible, I don't want to say the barometer, but it kind of takes the cake, with that massive dominant 63%. If you remove the stable coins, I think it's somewhere about 68 or 69% of the market cap, removing all the value from stable coins. But then you have other things in the DeFi ecosystem that are booming. And there's so much, we're only at like 7 or under 8% of the world population that is involved with crypto at all. And that tells me if we're going to be getting a 7x, 10x, 20x of the number of people involved with crypto assets, there is going to be an absolute boom in development out there. And it's important to have discussions like this. And in this case, we're going to be pivoting in a little bit, not just yet, but to an AMA with Solnic. I love these because it gives us an opportunity to meet different developers face to face, take a peek under the hood of what exactly they're doing, and get a deeper insight as to what's getting built out there, how it can affect me, and how, what other people, as a speculator that I am, where is this going to have a product market fit? Where's this narrative is going to be? And I love these conversations for that. But I'd love to throw it back over to Michael Oates. Do you think that with where we're at right now, especially with the advent of AI coming in, is there any way to even legitimately forecast where like the RWA and DeFi ecosystem, and I'm not talking about price and profits, but can we even forecast what this is going to look like in even 3 years from now, with this no code boom coming from AI and the number of growing awareness around this? How do we even figure out where to put our focus here?
Yeah, it's becoming really easy to do a lot of things with AI. I mean, there was some update recently with Grok where well, not recently, but you can just punch in, what your parameters are, and you can write code yourself. So things are becoming really fast and easy to do. But where it is in 3 years, man, I mean, not AI, but just machines in general, how rapidly they're changing, it could be completely night and day in the next 3 years. I think it's going to be interesting. Like circling back to the housing thing you posted up earlier too, about the houses gaining in value, but then Bitcoin costing less to purchase a home. I think a lot of people don't understand inflation or how rapidly the dollar is devaluing and how property is changing. So I don't know if it's going a lot faster, but it seems like it. You know, things are changing every single day. I feel like, you know, ChatGPT and other AI platforms are coming up with some new update faster and faster that you can do things. But yeah, 3 years, it can be completely different than what we can imagine, I would think, in 3 years. But yeah, we'll see.
The biggest part of AI for me has been empowerment. I think about what the information could have done 10 years ago for the people if they'd been able to know this type of stuff, if we'd been able to have access. Even as silly as it sounds, some of the suggested AI, I think, has helped people out, like, you know, under posts or Facebook is summarizing comments now, or on X, the ability to click on Grok and get context for a post. I see more people using that. And I think that's a good version of AI that's helping people out, because context means so much in these things. Do you guys find yourselves using it more simply because I know that we're on X a lot? Are you interacting more with AI because you don't have to leave X's platform to get on Grok? Because I know I'll click it a little bit more. Maybe I'll ask for post summaries. What about you, Solnic Coin? What do you think?
Well, I've kind of cut my teeth on ChatGPT, so I've always gravitated towards that. I know how to use the prompts with that. I've used Grok a little bit, and usually when I can't get the right product from ChatGPT, I'll go over to Grok and see what it'll spit out for me. But yeah, I definitely think that the additions, like you mentioned, with summarizing comments or explaining things is very valuable, you know, and just there's so much untapped power in what's at everybody's fingertips right now with ChatGPT and Grok, especially with you know, Super Grok coming out or released. I think it's just going to revolutionize everything faster than we'll even know how to use it.
It's significantly impacted my ability to manage my own personal finances, because I'm not a spreadsheet artist myself. I'm not good with that kind of stuff. But by being able to have progressive conversations and talk about the things I'm doing, goals I have with money, you can say and ask things to AI that your friends would judge you and laugh at you for. So I think that that's one of the most valuable things about AI, is it helps me look less ridiculous to all the people I might have asked questions to in the first place. So that's one of the hidden powers for me. Kelly, do you ever find yourself going there with a question you're like, I would never ask anyone else this, just to avoid getting judged?
I don't know. I probably am a little bit too outside of the normal box. I for the most part say pretty close to what's on my mind. But yeah, I mean, I could see that for sure. There are some things that yeah, I would ruminate on there with. What's interesting to me about all that, though, is you're also, because you and I do what we do, Pulse, and you, Yaboyski and Solnic and Roger and Michael Oates, we're in this in a way that we're so actively tracking what's going on with this technological revolution, evolution, and deployment. That I'm also aware that as I'm interacting with it, I also know that I'm training it, right? And I some people don't realize that. The other aspect is I think we're kind of in a weird position right now where it's great this technology is coming out, but I think people see output AI must be true, not realizing that output AI is still in a good way a lot of machine learning, or AKA it's pulling information from other sources. And if all those sources are skewed in one direction or the other, are you really getting the true answer, or just the true answer as pulled from CNN, MSNBC? You know what I mean? So there's this weird dichotomy right now of authority that AI has, but there's really not much difference in whether it's true or not versus just checking a mainstream news or not. Now, given it does pull from a few more sources, so hopefully it does get a bit more true. But I'm still on the stage where I've said this before. I don't think humanity, our human culture, has even caught up to having a telephone, let alone having computers, social media, TV, radio, and then now AI, where it's just like our cultural wiring and just how we perceive and deal with things. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with human psychology and just sense of being over the next 20 years, which is a whole nother 42-hour series, a conversation that we could have on that. But Roger, I see you shaking your head. What's your thoughts?
You there, Roger? I can't hear you. Got nothing.
Super quiet, muffled.
Yeah, sorry about that, Roger. Just reconnect the mic. I'll throw it over to Pulse on that same question. What's your thoughts on that?
I
evolution?
want the Calendly link for that 42-hour seminar about the impacts of all these technologies. That's the kind of stuff I get into, because you're getting into, like, so here's, I won't go too nerdy, but outside of what I do on Spaces, I've got like an exercise science and biochem degree. So the human brain in a generational sense could not possibly have adapted to the things we're throwing at it. You're 100% right. They're the 60 plus year lifespan of the human brain, multiple generations. You just said the phone is new. The phone is new for so many people, man. And it's going to take a long time for us to adapt to having screens in our faces and information as fast as we were coming. I know Yaboyski was making jokes before we started about how the news is coming so fast. And Kelly yesterday described it as news coming out of a fire hose and trying to drink from it. There are possibly deleterious effects from this. However, there are also some beautiful benefits to this type of stress, because the human body feeds on stress and it will only become better at doing these things. So I look forward to all of this. However, I would caution all of you to keep your mental health in check, because there is a lot coming at you out there. But I look forward to it. AI is a cool tool if you know its flaws, like Kelly was saying. If you know its flaws, if you know.
Am I good now?
You're good, baby.
Yeah, man.
So I agree with you there too, right? Because AI is only as good as the information it's given, right? So AI is nowhere near what it will be in 10, 20, 30 years, because one, right now, it's still learning. It's still a student, right? It doesn't know everything yet. And it will get there, right? There's some AIs that are professionals in what they do because they've had a professional in that field give them all the information, right? But there's also certain areas like ChatGPT where you go to ChatGPT, it's not always going to give you an accurate answer. So if people think that's the go-to, then you have a hard time in the future with information, because that is not accurate quite yet. But it will, at some point, it will have all the information it needs. But we are in a time where this is beneficial, right? If you take this and you take what you will at whatever age you decide to, you could become and be a professional in almost any field without having to take the steps we had to 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So it is an opportunity for people to take advantage of these tools, but understand that they're just tools, not the end all be all.
I mean, you know what? This is coming at a time where we have blockchain. We have this urgency for wanting more control of the money that we partake in. Really, if we boil it back down, how much energy are we spending to trade for other money that's supposed to be a capture of that energy we spent so that we can spend it? And we're all now, indefinitely aware of the devaluation. It's becoming more, this knowledge is spreading because of social media and the endless money printing, especially with 80% of all money that's ever existed has been printed in the last 5 years. And this is on the advent of all this blockchain technology going out, transparency, and actually the real time in history on a broad basis, especially with all these billions of people we have, where we can be the financial sovereign, maintain control and interact with our money the way we want to, which I think is absolutely incredible. And for that, it's why I'm also glad that we can participate in these kind of panels. I will say, every single one of you that's tuned in right now, welcome and thank you for tuning in to the Mario Nawfal Crypto Daily. We have these sponsored segments, and in this case, we've got Solnic on, where we're able to sit and talk. One, it gives us the ability to sit and have these panel discussions, but also then dive in a little bit deeper on what they are doing on some of the topics that we just talked about. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to Pulse to give you a little bit of an update here, and then we're going to dive in to this AMA section.
Appreciate everybody that's been watching. If you're on X right now taking in the show, you could have been leaving live comments. Remember, both alongside and underneath the post. We appreciate that. I will read those and respond to them. Also, if you're watching live and you're a project or someone who represents a project and you're thinking, man, what a cool conversation. I would love to do that about a subject I'm interested in. Send the account that's live right now a message. Click on it, go to the DMs, send them a message and say, hey, I saw Solnic live with Kelly and Pulse. I want to do a show about my favorite subject, and we'll build a panel. We'll bring them together and we'll get together and talk about all those fun things. We've been doing this since 2017 with projects on all the different blockchains you can think of. So send us a message, whether you're into AI or gaming or DeFi or NFTs, whatever you're doing, we'd love to talk about it, put together a group to get together with you, just like Solnic. And with Solnic, what we do is we imagine that someone just clicked on right now. We want to give them a smooth sound clip. So we don't assume they know anything about what we've talked about so far. So the first question I always ask, and I'll let, I assume that Solnic Coin might be the one to answer this one. Can you tell us, please, what is Solnic?
Well, Solnic is a token on the Solana blockchain. And we have a team behind it that is working to build tools to help people be their own bank. We've been working with this token for 14 months now. We've got a solid community that's really helped push us. And your boy Ski, who's been the face of this token for the 14 months. And then Michael is one of our advisors behind the scenes with this team as well. And so we started, as I said, we started this about 14 months ago, and we've learned a lot since then. We didn't know what we were getting into exactly or where we were going to take it, but over the last 6 or 8 months, it's really evolved into the vision that we have now of people being able to control their money, being able to use it to grow value and to retain value. And Devin will talk about some of the tools that we're building with that also. But basically, we're not trying to change the world. We're just trying to give some tools to everyday people that can use this product and our products to be their own bank.
Yeah, going over the documentary, BYOB kind of touched on it a little bit, but we talk about, just really showing this is where big banks left us, and this is why this is important to me, and then the products that we're trying to deploy is the same exact tools that they have, whether it's Wells Fargo, PayPal, whatever, but instead of needing tens or hundreds of millions of dollars of capital to earn money on your money to be your own bank, just like they do, you can do it for, $10 or $100 and you can put your money to work. So you're going to be able, we have staking coming out very soon, swapping, liquidity mining, borrowing, yield farming, all that stuff. And more. And the chart, it speaks for itself. 90+% of projects do not make it past, 3 months, and it's been 14 months. And the thing that I'm proud of, not only has each high went higher, but the bottoms, every bottom has more than doubled from where the last bottom was. And so that is a trend. So that's a 2x. That's a trend that I hope to continue, but to me, it's not about price go up equals good. It's about creating really good tools for really good people. And I'm going to be doing this not now or just for next year or next, my time horizon is decades. And I hope to continue to we've done so many things in 1 year. Give me 10 or 11 years and let's see what we can cook up. And somebody go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, tell us a little bit about that. You talked a little bit about be your own bank. What does that really mean for you? Like how you actually, what's your vision to actually making that accessible for everyday people?
Yeah. So the vision is with just a click of a button that you're going to be able to stake your money. You're going to be able to, instead of you need to be a qualified investor or you got to put up, go through this and that and the third, you're going to be able to put your regular hard-earned money, whether, most of my people are not, people who want Lamborghinis and all this different stuff, that's fine. I'm not against it. But most people that watch my channel are like truck drivers, teachers, nurses. They're just firefighters. They're just regular people who are just, tired of the financial system that has, made things very, very difficult. And they're looking to put a better life for themselves, for their family, for their kids. And so that's what I hope to do with this. It's not about, go pick out your Lamborghini, make sure it's lead, or what color is your Bugatti or whatever. It's not about that. It's about helping regular people take control of their life.
Well, can you walk us through a little bit how you what's your transition plan to go, because as you said, it's just like in regular business. It's not just isolated to crypto. 80% of most businesses fail. The ones that do, and it looks like you guys are already building a nice base here. You've actually seen some time and growth here. What are you doing to transition from a smaller project to having a lasting and a more robust ecosystem?
Well, we have a full team of developers who are working on, basically it's going to be a similar to like a Radium, but it's going to be, instead of a crazy amount of inflation, it's going to be as far as the token goes. All of the token for Solnic is already circulating in supply. So we have a team of developers that are working right now. We have the next thing to come out of the pipe is going to be the pre-staking. And so with the click of a button, it's not available yet. We're still developing it. It's still in the works, but you're going to be able to lock up your Solnic and you're going to be able to earn APY on that. And that's going to do a couple of things. That's going to earn APY for people, and that's going to help with supply as well.
Chart stability. Yeah.
Chart stability. Yeah.
Excellent. So what kind of specific tools are you guys building? Because when I think of being my own bank, I think I interact with my bank in one way. Other people might do different things. What kind of tools are users going to be using to take control from you?
Okay, so the next thing that we're going to come out with some of the dApps is where you're going to be able to borrow or lend. So you're gonna be able to lend your crypto, and it doesn't even necessarily need to be Solnic. It could be Bitcoin, Solana, whatever. You know, how did Elon Musk buy Twitter? How did he buy Twitter? Did he sell all of his, did he work for a job and did he do all these things? He put up his assets as collateral via Tesla, and he borrowed equity from that, and he bought Twitter and made it X. And that's what we're trying to offer for regular people. So you're going to be able to put up your crypto, and more importantly, about when you take a loan off of your crypto, it's not a taxable event. So you're not paying Uncle Sam 40% off of that, and you're going to be able to leverage that to hopefully some people are going to go buy boats or whatever, but hopefully some people will buy a farm or invest into business ventures.
Yeah, I hear that absolutely. And with that, one of the things that's been fractured indefinitely but still has legacy in the traditional banking system is people feel like they can trust, although I would argue my trust is in blockchain. So what sort of stuff is Solnic doing to build trust with new investors, community members? What sort of steps are you guys taking? What sort of things do you maybe already have in place?
So I'm doxxed. My wallet is doxxed as well. 6low, that's me. So we've given away what 45 million tokens at this point. So we've given away all kinds of stuff, but that you kind of alluded to it a little bit. The whole point of blockchain is not to trust. We have a trust system right now where the IRS has been in existence for 112 years, and we trust them to do what they say, or not the IRS. The Federal Reserve has been in existence for 112 years, and we trust that they're going to do what they say they're going to do, and they're going to keep our dollar stable. But in reality, verification is the more important thing. Auditing is the more important thing, and we're taking that step very seriously. Obviously, most of the things are going to be on the blockchain, but we're going to have outside auditors that are separate of our team audit each application that we have as well.
So what makes Solnic different from, because we talked a lot about it. I just want to shout out for anybody that has tuned in. Make sure at the end of this, if you didn't catch this whole episode, go back all the way to the beginning, all the way through this AMA, because this has been an incredible conversation about where we're at in the ecosystem with RWAs, with what's going on with DeFi and what we might expect looking into the future. So with Solnic, what makes Solnic different from other DeFi protocols out there, different DeFi options, and also there's this meme to utility drive that's going on right now. Can you speak a little bit on these and what's going on?
Sure, I'll jump in there a little bit. What makes any token on the Solana blockchain different? It's the team behind it, in my opinion. I could go on an app now and create 10 new tokens and give them all different names, and they're in existence. But in my opinion, the team behind it, the transparency of the team behind it, and the vision, consistency that myself and Devin have put forward over the last year, I think, builds a lot of credibility with our community. They see that we've set a plan out and we've checked our boxes, and we're moving forward at the completion rate that we promised our community to get things done. And I think that's the biggest thing, in my opinion, that sets us apart. Devin, if you have anything else, or Mike, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, it's if you like memes, we have the memery. Like, I don't even know what you would classify. We're kind of in a category of ourself, but memify or whatever. If you like memes, we have the meme. If you like scarcity, we have scarcity. It's a deflationary token. If you like DeFi, we have that as well. So if you like a transparent team that is every single thing that they've said and that we're going to do, we have accomplished or we're actively working towards it. So I'm not a perfect individual. I make mistakes, but I get up every day. I put my best foot forward and I do what I say I'm going to do. And that's what I plan to do indefinitely.
Well, on that note, everybody likes a little bit of legacy also. So I'd love to ask you, what was the original idea? How did Solnic come about? What was the light bulb moment? And if, making this transition also, speak a little bit to that so people can know where it came from. So they can also think about with you all where it's going.
So it was never just like I had everything all figured out day one. I'd be lying if I told you that. A lot of the story was we're just going to head down and keep moving forward, and we're going to figure things out. What's the best thing as we go?
Well, and Devin, I think a big piece of it started, it was last January. A lot of rugs were coming up. It was like the start of rug season. And I had a conversation with Devin and I was like, well, what if there was a team that didn't rug? What if that existed? Because, we had no idea, about, truly behind how to run a project, but we had this vision of what if we just didn't rug it and tried that. And that's sort of where it started with Solnic. Is we bought a little bit of the supply. We wish we'd have bought more. We wish we wouldn't have given away so much, but we can't fault it now because looking back, everything's been very successful for us and we're happy with where we're at. But I think the initial inception was, hey, what if there was just a token that we knew wouldn't rug because we were the ones running it?
That says so much about the cycle that you arrived at that conclusion. I love that. That's the safest way to protect us if we've got it right.
For me too, being in the crypto space, being on, I mostly do TikTok and YouTube. I just refuse to put myself in the same category as, other people who wanted to make a quick buck off their community. And it kind of is vile to me in a way. So that's why I doxed my wallet almost day one. I'm like, this is me. This is what I'm holding. I'm one of the biggest holders. And you could look at any time that I've sold, and the spoiler alert, the answer is 0, but we have given away 45 million tokens.
I'd like to touch point on what you said a minute ago. You mentioned about how all you can do is wake up every day, get out of bed and put your foot on the ground and move forward. That's actually some really hard style life advice that I'd want everyone to hear one more time, because that might be related to what he's talking about here with crypto and Solnic, but that's some straight up military thinking. Just make your bed, have a small victory type of thing. And I think that we can appreciate that, because that is what I look for when I'm looking at crypto projects. When I've got Web3 people coming to me for any kind of advisory or anything, the number one thing I'm going to test is, will they keep showing up if I play coy? How long can I draw out a group chat? How persistent will they be? Will they continue to message me? And I hate it because I feel like I'm being a jerk playing hard to get, but that kind of consistency, you boy, I appreciate that you mentioned it the way you did.
Well, that's my background. I don't, like to put it out there like that, but I was in the Army for 10 years and I was special operations, and I went through selection, and that's what it was. It wasn't about who was the strongest or the fastest or even the most intelligent, but what they were really looking for is, when you're rolling around in the mud, who's going to keep going, and who's going to when there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and when they have stuff that they make it to where there is no way to win in some of these scenarios when I was in the Army, but they just want to make sure that you're going to keep pushing forward even when there is no hope, and that's just something that's stuck with me even now.
Well, I love that. Yeah, I can resonate with that with my time in the Air Force and training with pararescue. It's slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And then lastly, always, how far can you persist? Because everybody, when you're thinking about giving up, even if you make it, everybody was having the same thoughts that you were. So I love that. We've got tens of thousands of people tuned into this, and I know there's going to be quite a bit more people that are tuned in. I'd love for you to have the opportunity, if you have any partnerships that you'd like to discuss, or anything coming up, or any sort of upcoming features or drops, anything like that you'd like to share with the audience.
We do have a book, my ebook coming out. It's called Built in the Boring, and it just kind of touches back on, it's not about, that's what it is. It's just about getting up, making your bed, and doing things in the boring. To me, the riches are made not, when you're chasing green candles, but an accumulation is what it really is, which is the boring times. And it goes over my whole method, and all of the proceeds are going to go towards development of Solnic, as well as more marketing. So that's going to go over Wyckoff. It's going to go over Elliott waves, Fibonacci's, anti-trading sentiment in my entire method. So yeah, that's something that's next in the shoot as well.
We've also got a partnership that should be deployed here in the next couple of weeks with On-Chain Labs. On-Chain Labs has got a direct fiat to token purchase with a Google account. So people, one of the biggest struggles people that are in crypto have is trying to get their buddy or their neighbor that have never onboarded, to the blockchain, get them to buy a token you're interested in or you think will do well. On-Chain Labs has a great solution for that. It's anybody with a Google account. It will build your wallet, and you're 3 clicks away from owning any of the tokens that they have listed. And Solnic will be one of the first tokens that they list.
Yeah, I hear that. And, as far along as we think we are in this ecosystem, I talked to a neighbor, an aunt, and uncle, or a grandparent, and it's like I'm speaking another language. We got some room to grow, but we got great projects out there developing. We have AI starting to smooth over some of the UI and UX and these different tools. Even Google, as you mentioned, Google getting involved. So I'd love to ask you a bit of a closing question, but also just a reminder, if you have any calls to actions that you'd like anybody to do that is tuned in, where they can find you, your socials, and any important dates coming up. And most importantly, where do you see Solnic fitting in to this larger financial self-sovereignty window, this opportunity that is before us?
Yeah, that's what it's all about, is to take control of your personal finance. Personal finance is just that. It is personal. And never, not one time am I saying that we're going to do this tomorrow or next week. But, take control of your personal finance, be your own bank. That is what it's all about. You could follow me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram at Yaboyski. My handle on Twitter is at Gajewski, which is my last name, Gajewskey. But if you search Yaboyski, it'll come up.
That's great. I appreciate you guys for being here. Remember, everybody that's in here, by the way, their name is usually the same account that they have on X. So for Michael, Roger, the Soulcoin account, also for Kelly and everybody else. If you want to follow us on X for the other spaces and places that you're going to catch them, that's the best way to do it. If you were the ones leaving your comments on X, I appreciate you guys for commenting along. I hope everybody here learned something, or was at least a little bit inspired. Anytime I have the too big to fail conversation or the housing crisis talk, I always leave like a little bit more fired up that day. And I love doing it on a Friday because now I'm going to have like a Bitcoin inspired weekend. So thank you guys for bringing Solnic here. I appreciate all of the guests that filled out our panel, and IBC for putting me and Kelly out here. Kelly and I get the opportunity to have great conversations with people, but it's on the backs of the people that set us up. So we appreciate that. And then Kelly and me going into the weekend, man, finger on the pulse of the news, looking for anything that breaks. We're going to be here. And remember, Sundays on the main channel is 69 Minutes, the #1 news show on X, 9 minutes longer than CBS's Alternative. Tune in and catch all kinds of news, politics, sports, AI, crypto. It's all there. Kelly, the rest is yours, man. I appreciate you.
I just appreciate everybody tuned in to these kind of panel discussions. And this is what's going to make you, every single one of you that's tuned in, this is what's going to set you apart. You're so much more informed about what's going on in this space, from all the topics we covered here to the AMA sessions we're able to do with today's sponsored partner, Solnic. I do want to shout out again. You can find more information on them at Solnic Coin on their socials. And of course, reach out to Yaboyski or at Solnic Coin. You see right there, it's all on the screen. But we really do appreciate these conversations. Appreciate everybody here that's tuned in and everybody that was a part of this panel discussion. Michael Oates, thank you for being here. Roger, always great addition. Solnic and Yaboyski, and of course, my boy here, Mr. Pulse Digital. Thank you so much. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Get out of the charts. Go hug a puppy, kiss a tree. Have fun with some friends, but this market's about to get really exciting. I'm convinced of it, and I'm stacked like there's no tomorrow. I need to go see a therapist sometimes, but I love you all. I appreciate you all. That's all we got in this episode. Adios, everybody.